The night sky above the ruined world was full of fire. Burning ships fell like dying stars, and the Emperor's guard stood in broken lines among the ruins, their armor scratched, their banners torn, and their eyes filled with fear. They were supposed to be the strongest warriors in the galaxy, the shield of the Empire, the ones who never failed. Yet now they were surrounded, their numbers broken, their voices hushed. From a high tower, Commander Varen of the Emperor's Guard lifted his wrist console and sent the coded SOS. A signal that screamed across the stars, a desperate call for help. It was the kind of message that no one in the galaxy could ignore, the kind that meant, "We are dying, send aid now." His soldiers looked up at him with hope, waiting for the answer, waiting for the great fleets of the Empire to appear and save them. But the night stayed silent. The console blinked, searching for replies, but none came. The only sound was the distant thunder of enemy war machines moving closer. Every minute the signal repeated, and every minute the silence pressed heavier on their hearts. Some soldiers whispered that maybe the message was lost in the void. Others feared the truth, that the Empire had heard them, but chosen not to come. Around the campfires of the Guard, the whispers grew. "Has the Emperor abandoned us?" one asked. "No." Another answered quickly, but his voice trembled. "We are the Guard. We are never left behind." Yet his eyes betrayed doubt. Even the proudest warriors felt the chill of betrayal creep into their hearts. Above them, enemy banners flew in the sky, the alien fleet circling like vultures waiting to feast. Their warlords laughed as they watched the Guard send their SOS again and again. To them it was the sound of desperation, the sound of a proud army collapsing. Some even sent mocking signals back, only static filled with laughter. The soldiers of the Guard tried to hold their courage, but in the quiet moments their thoughts grew darker. They thought of their families back home, their oaths to the Emperor, the honor they had carried into battle. What would it mean if no one came? Would their names be erased, their sacrifice forgotten? Commander Varen stood at the front, staring into the dark horizon. His men needed hope, but even he felt the silence cutting into his soul. The SOS signal kept pulsing like a heartbeat, but no one answered. It was as if the galaxy itself had turned its back. Far beyond the ruined city, the enemy army prepared. Alien soldiers with glowing eyes marched through the ashes, their war drums echoing in the night. They knew the Guard were cornered. They knew that tomorrow, when the sun rose, they could crush what was left. The Guard had no ships, no reinforcements, no way out. Only their SOS reaching into the stars like a dying flame. Some of the younger soldiers broke down, crying quietly in the shadows. Older veterans tried to steady them, reminding them of battles long past. But even the old warriors knew this fight was different. This was not about strength, but about being forgotten. The silence after the SOS felt louder than the enemy drums. It was a silence that weighed on every heart. The Guard could face death bravely, but to be abandoned, that was worse than death itself. As the night deepened, a strange stillness settled on the battlefield. The Guard stood waiting, their armor reflecting the glow of fires around them. Every eye was on the sky, waiting for the faintest sign. A friendly ship breaking through the clouds, a single message that said, "We are coming," but the sky remained dark. In that silence, every soldier felt the same thought. Though none spoke it aloud, if no help came, if no one answered, then tomorrow would be the end of the Emperor's Guard. Yet in that same silence, something unseen moved, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment, a presence hidden, unknown to both friend and foe. The Guard did not know it. The enemies did not see it. But the first thread of change was already on the battlefield, silent, patient, deadly. Across the stars, signals from the Emperor's Guard spread like ripples in water. The SOS reached out to the farthest systems, crossing space, touching outposts, stations, and hidden worlds. Every commander, every fleet captain, every governor of the Empire could see it. The proud Guard were calling for aid. Yet the galaxy did not rush to save them. Instead, whispers began. In great halls of alien allies, in dark chambers of rival empires, the message was received with silence, hesitation, and laughter. Some saw weakness, others saw opportunity. None moved to help. On the high throne world of the Trilari, a council of scaled generals gathered. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dim firelight as they listened to the Guard's desperate cry. One general struck the table with his claw and hissed, "The Guard, begging for aid?" Impossible. They were always untouchable, always untouchable. Another leaned back, amused. Perhaps not so untouchable anymore. If they fall, the Emperor's reach weakens. That could be good for us. The chamber filled with low laughter. Far away, among the crystalline towers of the Jari Syndicate, their leaders played with the message like a toy, projecting the guard's signal on shimmering walls. They screamed for rescue. One alien purred with a smile. But why should we interfere? The guard never helped us when we cried out. Another replied. Let them drown in their own pride. It will show the galaxy that the Emperor cannot protect his own. They raised crystal goblets and toasted the fall of the guard. On neutral worlds, merchants and smugglers watched the signal with cold eyes. To them, it was not tragedy but business. The guard will fall, one smuggler said. And when they do, there will be markets to claim, trade routes to steal, weapons to sell. Around him, others nodded, thinking of profit, not honor. Even in the hidden halls of the Empire itself, some politicians remained still. They heard the cries of their guard, but they weighed the cost. To send a fleet would be costly. One minister said softly. And if the guard is already lost, why waste more lives? Another agreed. Better to say nothing, better to let the silence speak. Their cold words traveled like knives, though the soldiers on the battlefield would never hear them. But not every reaction was cruel. In some distant stations, alien captains listened to the message and felt unease. They respected the guard, even feared them. They knew that if the guard fell, the balance of power would shift. If even they are not safe, one captain whispered, then none of us are safe. Yet fear chained them, fear of the enemy fleet, fear of the Empire's anger, fear of standing alone, so they did nothing. Meanwhile, the enemies who surrounded the guard rejoiced. Their leaders gathered in war tents, their armor shining with blood-red light. The signal was intercepted by their scouts, and they played it for their armies to hear. The desperate voice of the Emperor's guard crying for help filled the air. The alien soldiers laughed and roared, mocking the once proud warriors. They beg like children, shouted one warlord, raising his blade. Tomorrow, we will show them that no one comes to save the forgotten. His soldiers cheered, their voices shaking the ground. The SOS echoed across the galaxy. But instead of summoning fleets, it summoned only debates, greed, fear, and cruel joy. The guard's call became a mirror, showing the true face of those who heard it. Some revealed their envy, some their cowardice, some their hatred. Back on the ruined planet, the guard still waited, unaware of the laughter echoing light years away, unaware of the cruel choices being made. They only knew the silence, the long silence that felt like betrayal. And yet, hidden in the darkness, far from the councils, far from the laughter, a different pair of eyes watched the same signal, not with greed, not with cruelty, but with something colder and sharper. A human had heard it. A lone figure who understood what silence truly meant. The galaxy ignored the guard, but he would not. Far beyond the walls of the ruined city, away from the desperate soldiers of the Emperor's guard, a shadow moved across the broken land. It was not alien. It was not one of the guard. It was something the galaxy had forgotten, something most had learned to fear in whispers. A human. He moved like a ghost through the shattered ruins, his boots making no sound on the cracked stone. The war around him was chaos, but he was calm. His breathing was steady, his hands sure. His eyes scanned every corner of the battlefield with a hunter's focus. To him, this was not madness. It was familiar. It was war. The human had not come because of orders. No one had sent him. He was not part of the guard, not part of the Empire's grand fleets. He had come because he saw the SOS, and where others laughed or turned away, he felt something different. Not pity, not loyalty, but a challenge. He found the highest ruins, the broken spine of a tower half buried in ash. From there he could see everything. The guard's broken campfires, the enemy's war machines gathering like predators, the skies full of alien banners. He studied it all with quiet patience, marking every path, every weak point, every shadow where he could disappear. The human carried no flag, no shining armor, only his rifle. It was long, black, and scarred by battles past. It looked ordinary. But in his hands it was something more. It was an extension of his will, a whisper of death that could travel across mountains. Every scratch on the weapon told a story, and every story ended the same way, with silence. While the guard prayed for fleets to descend from the stars, the human worked alone. He checked his rifle, checked the wind, checked the angles. He moved cartridges into place with careful hands. Each action was deliberate, practiced, perfect. He did not rush, for rushing was weakness, patience was his ally, silence his shield. He watched the guard with distant eyes. They did not know he was there. They did not know that someone had answered their SOS. He did not wave, he did not speak, that was not his way. To him, saving them was not about glory, it was about precision. From his perch, he studied the enemy commanders. He saw how they moved, how they shouted orders, how their soldiers obeyed without question. He saw the symbols painted on their armor, the arrogant way they carried themselves. To others they were terrifying, to him they were targets. The night deepened, and still he waited, his stomach empty, his throat dry, but his focus unbroken. The war drums of the enemy pounded across the plain, but he did not flinch. He measured their rhythm, their formations, their mistakes. Every detail became part of a map in his mind, a map only he could read. In the galaxy stories, humans were often dismissed, too few, too weak, too wild. Yet in the quiet darkness, this one human held a power greater than fleets. He had the power to change the rhythm of battle with a single pull of the trigger. The guard did not know it yet. The enemies did not fear it yet. But the balance of war was about to shift, not because of armies or empires, but because one human had chosen to stay. He closed one eye and looked through the scope. His crosshairs rested on the first commander. He did not fire, not yet. He breathed in, slow and steady. He let the moment stretch, waiting, measuring, perfecting. For him, the battlefield was not chaos. It was a puzzle, and puzzles were made to be solved. Somewhere behind the ruined horizon, the first light of dawn threatened to rise. The guard prepared for their final day, believing they stood alone. The enemy readied for triumph, believing victory was already theirs. Only the human knew the truth, that before the sun rose, the battlefield would belong to him. The battlefield waited in silence. The Emperor's guard huddled behind broken walls, staring at the horizon, their hearts heavy with despair. The enemy army stood strong, their banners waving in the night wind, their war drums echoing like thunder. Both sides believed they knew what tomorrow would bring, but tomorrow had already arrived, hidden in the shadows of a ruined tower. The human sniper lay still, his body pressed against cold stone. Through the scope of his rifle, the world became narrow, sharp, and perfect. He saw the enemy commander, a tall alien with crimson armor, standing proud among his officers. The alien barked orders, his voice carrying across the field. His soldiers cheered, believing victory was certain. The sniper's finger rested lightly on the trigger. He breathed slowly, his heartbeat calm. To him, this was not rage, not vengeance, but art. He had waited, studied, measured. Now the time was right. The crosshairs rested on the alien's head. A single squeeze, a single whisper of steel, and the silence broke. The shot rang out like a crack of lightning, but only once. The alien commander staggered, confusion flashing in his glowing eyes. Then he collapsed, lifeless. The cheers of his soldiers turned into cries of fear. His officers rushed to his side, shouting orders that crumbled into chaos. The guard lifted their heads, stunned. None of them had fired. They looked at one another in confusion. Then their eyes turned outward, searching the ruins. Somewhere, unseen, someone had struck down their enemy's leader with impossible precision. The enemy army roared in panic. Who fired that? They shouted. Soldiers scrambled for cover, their discipline unraveling. Some pointed at the guard, others looked to the skies, but no one could find the source. The fear spread faster than orders. The sniper remained still. He did not celebrate, did not move. One shot was not enough. He shifted his scope, found the next target. Another officer screaming at his soldiers to hold the line. The rifle whispered again, and another alien fell. Now the guard understood. Someone was helping them. Someone invisible, untouchable. Their despair flickered into hope. "We are not alone," one soldier whispered, gripping his weapon tighter. Commander Varen narrowed his eyes. He did not know who their unseen ally was, but he knew the battlefield had changed. The enemy generals gathered quickly, fear etched across their faces. They argued in harsh voices. "It must be sabotage." One hissed, "No, it's the guard. They have hidden weapons." Another shouted, But deep inside they knew. The shots were too clean, too perfect. They had heard stories, old stories whispered in fear, of humans who could kill from shadows, unseen, unstoppable. The sniper worked with patience, never rushing, never revealing his position. Every shot was chosen. Every shot designed to break command. Leaders fell, orders vanished, confusion spread. The enemy soldiers who once marched with pride now stumbled, looking around in terror. For the first time in hours, the guard pushed forward. They cheered as another enemy officer dropped. They raised their banners higher, their courage returning. Some even cried out, "The Emperor has answered us." Others whispered a different word, softer, almost fearful, "Human." The alien army, once so confident, began to tremble. Without their leaders, their formations broke apart. Soldiers screamed for direction that never came. Some fled into the night, others fired wildly at shadows. Every sound became a threat. Every ruin became a ghost. The guard pressed their attack, but still they searched for the source of their salvation. From the ruined tower, the sniper watched them without a word. He did not want their thanks. He did not want their glory. His purpose was simple. Control the battlefield. Each shot was a message not to the guard but to the galaxy, to the ones who had laughed at the SOS, to the ones who had turned away. This was the answer. Humans did not need fleets, humans did not need councils. A single human with a rifle could change the fate of armies. The night sky burned brighter as ships exploded above. The ground shook with panic and fire. Yet through it all, the sniper remained calm, steady and hidden, one man against an army, and the army was losing. By dawn, the battlefield was unrecognizable. The guard stood taller. Their fear turned to fire. The enemy reeled. Their pride shattered. All of it had begun with one sound, one moment, one shot that had torn silence apart and rewritten the battle. The battlefield lay heavy with smoke. The first light of dawn pushed through the gray sky, revealing broken machines, burning banners, and the bodies of fallen commanders. The Emperor's guard stood stronger than before, their eyes alive with new fire. The enemy army stood weaker, their lines twisted and broken. The silence after the chaos felt almost unreal. Yet it was not silence, it was a question, whispered across both camps. Who had fired those shots? Among the guard, soldiers gathered around Commander Varen, their voices low, their faces filled with confusion and wonder. It was no ordinary strike. One soldier said, "That precision, that timing, no guard could do it." Another leaned closer, almost whispering, "It felt human." At that word, a hush fell. Humans were rare, humans were dangerous. The thought that one might be here was both hope and fear. Varen looked at his men, his mind racing. If it was true, if a human was out there, then everything had changed. But could they be trusted? Was this human fighting for them, or for some secret purpose? He gave no answer, for he did not know himself. Meanwhile, in the enemy camp, panic spread like fire. The warlords sat in their command tent, their armor cracked, their voices raised. It was sabotage, one shouted. The guard had hidden assassins. Another slammed his fist on the table. No, it was something else, those shots. They were too far, too clean, too human. At that word, the tent grew quiet. Fear crept into their eyes. Stories of humans were known even among their kind. Stories of hunters who could kill from impossible distances. Soldiers who turned battles alone. Whispers of wars where humans had been the deciding hand. To fight an army was one thing. To fight a human was something else. The debate tore through both camps. The guard argued in circles. Some said they should search for their hidden savior, thank him, and beg him to stay. Others warned it could be a trick, a spy playing with them before turning against them. If it is a human, one soldier said bitterly, then we should fear him as much as we thank him. But hope was stronger than fear. For the first time since their SOS went unanswered, they felt they were not alone. Whether he is human or not, a young guard whispered, "He fights with us, and that is enough." Murmurs of agreement spread, courage lighting like fire across tired hearts. In the enemy camp, fear turned to anger. Their generals shouted for scouts, demanding the sniper be found and killed. Soldiers searched the ruins, firing at shadows, but every ruin looked dangerous. Every silence carried threat. They argued whether to stay and fight, or retreat and save themselves. One commander cried out, "If it is a human, then we are already lost." His words spread like poison, shaking the hearts of his men. The debate did not end with decisions, it ended with silence. Each side realized the truth. The battle was no longer theirs. It belonged to the unseen figure in the shadows, the one who held the battlefield in his hands. High above in the ruined tower, the sniper adjusted his scope, watching them argue, watching them doubt. He did not smile, he did not frown, he only prepared. The debate meant nothing to him. He knew what came next, for while they argued, he was already choosing his next target. The guard prayed their savior would keep helping. The enemy cursed their unseen enemy, but both sides understood one truth. The balance of power was no longer in their armies, no longer in their numbers. It was in the rifle of a hidden human, a human who had not spoken a word, yet whose presence shouted louder than any fleet. The battlefield was now a game board, and the human was the only one who knew the rules. While the guard argued about his presence, while the enemy generals shouted and feared, he remained calm, steady, unseen. From the ruined tower he watched, not with pride, but with calculation. Every movement, every order, every mistake was noted. He did not waste bullets. Every shot was chosen like a blade striking the exact place to make the body fall. First he cut the commanders, then the officers who tried to take control. Now he aimed at the messengers, the ones who carried orders through the ranks. Each shot tore a link in the enemy's chain of command, until their army was not an army anymore, but a mass of frightened soldiers. The guard began to notice the pattern. Every time an alien leader shouted, they fell. Every time the enemy tried to regroup, chaos struck them again. It was as if the unseen sniper was guiding the guard's hand, pushing them forward, telling them without words where to strike. Commander Varen felt it most of all. He realized that if he moved his forces the way the enemy expected, the sniper punished the enemy instantly. If he held back, the sniper still created openings. It was as if this hidden ally could see the battlefield not as confusion, but as a puzzle, and he was solving it piece by piece. The aliens panicked. They spread their scouts wide, searching every tower, every ruin, but they found nothing. The sniper never fired twice from the same place. He moved like a shadow, always one step ahead. His patience was a weapon as sharp as his rifle. He struck, then vanished, struck again from another angle. Each shot carried not just death, but terror. Among the enemy ranks, rumors spread faster than orders. Some swore they saw glowing human eyes in the ruins. Others claimed the human could vanish into smoke. Fear made them believe in ghosts, and ghosts were harder to fight than soldiers. The guard, once broken and hopeless, now fought with renewed strength. They shouted as they charged, "The shadows fight with us. The silent hunter clears the way." Their courage grew with each enemy that fell to a single unseen bullet. It felt as if the human sniper's will was flowing into them, making them fight harder. On the other side, the enemy generals quarreled. One demanded a full retreat. Another screamed to press forward before the guard recovered. But no matter what choice they made, the sniper broke it. When they gathered close, he struck down the leader at the center. When they spread wide, he hunted the ones alone. There was no safe move, no safe order. The battlefield belonged to him. What fleets had not given the guard, what the Empire had denied them, one human provided control. The guard realized they did not need rescue. Not if their unseen ally stayed with them. The enemy realized numbers meant nothing. Not against one who turned their strength into weakness. From his scope, the human saw everything with sharp clarity. He did not think in words of mercy or cruelty. To him, the battle was a pattern. He was breaking it apart until nothing remained. His strategy was simple. Remove the head, the body will fall. Remove the voice, the soldiers will scatter. Remove the heart, the army will die without even knowing why. And so it happened, one by one. The alien army cracked. Their formations lost shape. Their war cries faded into screams. Soldiers fled. Commanders lay silent. Discipline turned into chaos. The guard advanced step by step, not as a dying force but as an army reborn. The galaxy had ignored their SOS. Fleets had stayed silent. Councils had laughed. Yet here, one human had done what no fleet could. He turned despair into power. He turned silence into fear. He turned an impossible defeat into a rising victory. Above the ruins, smoke twisted into the sky, carrying the smell of burning metal and broken pride. The guard pressed forward with new voices, chanting, "For the Emperor." But in their hearts another truth echoed. They knew who had truly saved them. Not the Emperor, not the Empire, but a single hidden human who had made the battlefield his own.